The sound hits first. Not a scream. Not yet. Just a chair scraping the floor. Slow. Uneven. Like it lost a fight with gravity. Mom? A pause. Another step. Faster this time. Mom. Hey, stop. Her body is on the floor, not moving. One arm folded wrong beneath her. Her cheek pressed against the carpet, like she meant to lie down there for just a second. Just to rest. Mom? Hazel's voice cracks halfway through the word. It doesn't break all the way. Not yet. She's still hoping. Still negotiating with reality. Iris doesn't speak at first. She just stands there, breathing shallow, listening, too quiet. Then, I don't like this, Iris whispers, not loud, like saying it louder might make it real. Hazel. Her breathing sounds weird, wrong. That's the word neither of them says. Hazel drops to her knees, hands shaking. She leans close to their mother's face. Mom. You're scaring me. Nothing. No answer. No flinch. No privilege. Hazel pulls back suddenly. She didn't answer. Silence stretches. Thick, heavy. You can hear breathing now, but not hers. The girl's. Fast. Uneven. Mom? Iris tries again. Softer. Closer. Like maybe volume is the problem. You can wake up now. Still nothing. Hazel presses her ear near her mother's mouth. Then freezes. She's breathing, she says quickly. Too quickly. She is. It's just... It sounds... She stops. Doesn't finish the sentence, because finishing it means saying the thing out loud. Iris backs up a step. Her hand covers her mouth. Not to scream, to hold herself together. Hazel. A pause. What do we do? Hazel looks around like the room might answer. It doesn't. Her eyes land on the phone. Face down. Screen dark. For a second, just a second, she doesn't move. Then she reaches for it. Breath hitching. Okay, she says, mostly to herself. Okay. The phone unlocks. Contacts open. Her thumb scrolls once. Stops. Hazel's forehead tightens. Why is that name here? She looks at Iris. Iris already knows. Her face drains. That's him. Another pause. Longer this time. The kind that stretches until fear starts pressing in from all sides. Hazel swallows. Well, Mom always said only call him if... She trails off. Because the rest doesn't need words. She looks back at their mother. Still on the floor. Still not waking up. Hazel's thumb hovers over the screen. Shaking. Hazel. Iris whispers. Please. Hazel exhales. Then presses call. The phone vibrates once. Then again. Each buzz feels louder than it should. Hazel holds it with both hands now, like it might fall if she doesn't. The screen glows against her face, too bright in the dim room. Ringing. Iris steps closer, not touching Hazel, just there. What if? Iris starts. She stops herself, because there are too many what ifs, and none of them help. Hazel's eyes don't leave the screen. The name sits there, clean, simple, out of place. Not Dad, not emergency. Just a name that doesn't belong in this moment, or this house, or their lives. Hazel swallows again. Why would Mom even still have his number? She whispers. Iris doesn't answer right away. She hugs her arms around herself, rocks once, barely noticeable. She said, Iris hesitates. She said it was for emergencies. Like, real ones. They both look down at their mother, still on the floor, still unmoving, breathing. But not right. Hazel's thumb tightens. The ringing stops. For half a second, relief flashes across Hazel's face. Then the screen changes. Connected. Hazel's heart jumps so hard it hurts. She wasn't ready. She didn't think this far. I didn't think he'd... A sound comes through the speaker. Not a voice yet. Just breathing. Steady, controlled. Then... Hello. The word is calm. Too calm. It doesn't match the room. It doesn't match the fear climbing up Hazel's chest. It doesn't match the way Iris has gone completely still, eyes wide, like she's afraid even sound might break something. Hazel opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. Hello? The voice repeats, lower now, focused. Hazel squeezes her eyes shut, then blurts, Are you Reuben? A pause. A different kind of silence slips through the phone. Yes, the man says slowly. Who's calling? Hazel's voice shakes now. She can't stop it. Our mom. She stops. Breath catches. She fell. She's not waking up. The quiet on the other end stretches. Not empty. Heavy. Then the man speaks again. Faster this time. Sharper. Where are you? Hazel answers without thinking. The address spills out between breaths. The man doesn't interrupt, doesn't rush her, just listens. When she finishes, he says, help is on the way. Iris leans in suddenly. Hazel, she whispers urgently. Ask him. Hazel hesitates. Her grip tightens on the phone. Are you? She starts, then stops. Are you, The word feels too big, too dangerous. She forces it out anyway. Are you our dad? Silence. This time, it lasts longer. Long enough for Hazel to regret asking. Long enough for Iris to look away. Then, yes, one word. Rough around the edges. Yes, he says again. I am. Hazel's knees give slightly. She sits down hard on the floor beside her mother. The man's voice softens. Stay with her, he says. Don't hang up. I'm coming. The line stays open. No music. No dramatic sound. Just breathing. On both sides. Hazel presses the phone closer to her ear, like distance itself might be dangerous. I'm right here, she says quickly. I'm not hanging up. I know, the man replies. You're doing good. Good. The word feels strange, out of place. Like praise doesn't belong in a room where their mom is still on the floor. Iris crouches beside Hazel now. Her knee touches Hazel's leg. Neither of them pulls away. She's still breathing, Iris says toward the phone. Then, quieter, almost to herself, I think. The man exhales slowly. Listen to me, he says. Put the phone down where I can hear her. Just for a second, Hazel hesitates. Looks at Iris. Iris nods. Once, Hazel sets the phone gently on the floor, near their mother's shoulder. They wait. Seconds stretch. The man doesn't speak. Then, okay, he says softly. I hear it. Hazel's chest tightens. So she's alive, he says. Firm, certain. Stay with her. Hazel swipes at her face with the back of her hand. She didn't realize tears had started falling. Okay, she whispers. Okay. We're here. The man continues talking, calm, steady, explaining what to do, what not to do. But his voice starts to blur, because something heavier settles into the room. A truth neither girl has time to fully feel yet. The person helping them, the person coming, the person holding this moment together, is the man their mother never talks about. The one whose name lives quietly in her phone. The one she never wanted them to need. And right now, he's the only reason everything hasn't completely fallen apart. Pause. Let me ask you something. What would you do if the only person who could help save your mom was the one she spent her whole life trying to protect you from? If that question just hit you somewhere deep, take a second. Tap the like button. It tells the platform this story matters, and if you don't want to miss what happens when secrets collide with real life, go ahead and subscribe. This is Mr. Austin Love and Story Tales, where life's hardest lessons don't come neatly wrapped. They come raw, real, and unforgettable. And trust me, what this man does next, well, no one in that room was ready for it. The sirens aren't here yet. That's the part that makes everything feel unreal. Time stretches thin. Every second feels like it's holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. Hazel keeps her eyes on her mother's chest. Up, down. She's still breathing, she murmurs. Not to anyone in particular, just saying it out loud so it stays true. Iris nods slowly. Her hands are folded in her lap now. Too neat, too careful. Like if she moves the wrong way, something bad might notice. The voice on the phone stays with them. Steady, present, not rushing, not leaving. Help is close, he says. You're not alone. Hazel presses the phone to her chest for a moment. Just a moment. Okay, she whispers. Okay. Pause, and somewhere between the waiting, the breathing, the quiet fear sitting in the corners of the room, everything changes. Because this moment, right here on the floor of their home, isn't just an emergency. It's the beginning of a truth that was buried for years. A truth their mother carried alone. A truth that's about to step fully into the light. Whether anyone is ready or not. Soft breath. Before she collapsed. Before the call. Before the man on the other end of the line said yes. There was a woman who believed strength meant handling everything by herself. This is her story. Quiet strength. Before that night. Before the floor, the silence, the phone call. Zola was the kind of woman people assumed had everything handled. Not because she said it. Not because she asked them to believe it. Because she moved through the world like someone who didn't need permission. She woke before the alarm most mornings. Not abruptly. Just awake. Eyes open. Staring at the ceiling for a few seconds longer than necessary. Listening to the house breathe. The soft hum of the refrigerator downstairs. The faint whir of the heater clicking on and off. A floorboard upstairs shifting as one of the girls turned in her sleep. She lay there a moment, letting the sounds register, then exhaled and sat up. No rush, no groan. Just motion. Her feet touched the floor. Cold. She didn't flinch. Zola didn't waste energy on reactions she couldn't afford. In the mirror, she barely looked at herself. Brushed her teeth. Pulled her hair back into a low, practical knot. Dark circles lived under her eyes now, but she didn't linger on them. There were meetings today. Deadlines. People who expected her to be sharp. Respected. At work, they listened when Zola spoke. Not because she was loud, not because she demanded it, but because when she opened her mouth, she didn't fill space with noise. She filled it with certainty. On job sites, men twice her age paused when she walked up. Some smiled politely. Some tested her with questions they already knew the answers to. Zola answered calmly. Precisely. No extra words. She didn't prove herself. She stood. By the time she became an architect with her own firm, the reputation followed her. Reliable, unshakable, controlled. People liked to say things like, Zola doesn't crack. She never corrected them, because explaining strength always felt unnecessary. At home, though, it softened. She packed lunches without checking the clock. Peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the other, crusts trimmed just enough to make Hazel smile. Iris liked her apple cut into even slices. Zola never forgot. When Hazel came down the stairs rubbing her eyes, Zola glanced up. Morning, she said. Hazel nodded, yawned. Morning. Iris followed more slowly. Always observant, always quiet. Zola poured orange juice, slid the glass across the counter. Drink, she said gently. No command in it. Just care. The girls moved around her like gravity existed, like the kitchen had an order, and she was the center of it. If Zola noticed the weight pressing on her chest most mornings, the kind that made breathing feel slightly delayed, she didn't name it. She didn't have time to. Strength, for Zola, had never meant feeling nothing. It meant continuing anyway. By the afternoon, the tiredness settled in quietly. Not like a wave, more like a film, thin, persistent. Zola stood at her desk, tablet propped up, blueprints glowing back at her. Lines intersected cleanly, measurements precise. Everything on the screen made sense. Her body didn't. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, rolled her shoulders once. Then again. Her neck felt tight. Not painful. Just held, like it had been bracing for something all day, and forgot how to let go. She took a breath. It didn't go all the way in. She noticed, but only briefly, there was an email waiting. A contractor asking for confirmation. She typed her response carefully, reread it, then paused before sending. Her fingers hovered. Well, she murmured to no one. She blinked, shook her head slightly, and pressed send. Zola had learned long ago not to dramatize discomfort. Headaches came and went. Sleep shortened and stretched strangely. Time blurred at the edges. That was adulthood. That was responsibility. She checked the clock on her screen. 4:47 p.m. Too early to feel this tired. Too late to slow down. She gathered her things methodically. Laptop closed. Tablet slipped into her bag. Keys placed in the side pocket where they always went. Order mattered. Outside, the air was cool, sharp enough to wake her a little. She welcomed it, drew in a deeper breath this time. It helped. Some. At home, the house greeted her the way it always did. Quiet, familiar, shoes by the door, Hazel's crooked, irises neatly aligned. Zola nudged Hazel's shoe back with her foot, smiling faintly. Consistency, she muttered under her breath. She moved through the evening on muscle memory. Homework questions answered between chopping vegetables, a pot simmering on the stove, forgotten for a moment too long, until she noticed the smell. Oh. She reached for the burner quickly, turning it down. Okay. Dinner still came out fine. It always did. At the table, Hazel talked about school. Fast, animated, hands moving as much as her mouth. Zola listened, nodded at the right moments. Iris watched instead. Watched Zola. Mom? Iris asked suddenly. Zola looked up. Yes? Are you tired? The question landed softly. Zola opened her mouth, then paused. A little, she said. Honest enough to count. Why? Iris shrugged. Just asking. Zola smiled, but it took effort this time. The kind you feel behind your eyes. After dishes, after reminders about backpacks and jackets, she climbed the stairs more slowly than usual. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. She paused halfway up, hand resting on the railing. The house was quiet again. She stood there for a second longer than necessary, breathing. In, out. Get it together, she whispered. Then she kept going. Later, alone in her home office, the glow from her tablet filled the room. Blueprints again, notes scribbled in the margins, deadlines stacked one after another. The pain behind her eyes arrived gently. Not sharp, persistent. She pressed her fingers to her temples, closed her eyes. Just for a moment, her thoughts slowed, not stopped, just stretched. She opened her eyes again. The screen looked the same, but something felt slightly off. She ignored it. She always did. By the time Zola shut her tablet, the house had gone quiet again. Not empty quiet, occupied quiet. The kind shaped by small lives settling into sleep. She stood from the desk slowly, pushed the chair in, paused, one hand resting on the edge of the table like she was checking her balance without admitting she needed to. Okay, she murmured. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. Zola smiled faintly. She climbed the stairs carefully now. Not because she was weak, she didn't feel weak, but because something in her body asked for patience. She listened as she moved. Hazel's door was open a crack. Light spilled into the hallway. Zola nudged it wider with her knuckles. Hazel was sprawled across the bed, one leg hanging off the side, hair fanned out everywhere. A book lay open on her chest, forgotten mid-page. Zola stepped closer. Hazel, she whispered. No response. She reached down, slid the book away, and gently lifted Hazel's leg back onto the mattress. Hazel stirred, mumbled something unintelligible. Zola chuckled under her breath. Yeah, exactly. She pulled the blanket up, smoothing it the way she always did, once at the shoulder, once at the corner. Routine, necessary. Across the hall, Iris's door was closed. Zola knocked lightly before opening it anyway. Iris lay on her side, eyes open. Not startled, just aware. You're still awake, Zola said softly. Iris nodded. I was thinking. Zola leaned against the doorframe. Dangerous habit. Iris's lips twitched. You do it too. Zola didn't argue. She crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress dipped slightly. Iris turned to face her. "You worked late," Iris said. Zola replied. "Not too late." A pause. Iris studied her face. Quietly, thoroughly. "Does your head hurt again?" Zola inhaled, not sharply, just long. "Well," she said, choosing the word carefully. "A little." Iris reached out, small fingers brushing Zola's wrist, not holding, just touching. It grounded her more than it should have. "You should rest," Iris said. Zola smiled. "This one came easier." "You sound like me." Iris shrugged. "Someone has to." Zola laughed softly, then stopped when the sound made her head throb a little harder. She swallowed. "Try to sleep," she said instead. Iris nodded. "Okay." Zola stood, hesitated, then bent to press a kiss to Iris's forehead. She lingered there a second longer than usual, breathing in the faint scent of shampoo and clean sheets. She straightened slowly. At the top of the stairs, she paused again, listened. The house breathed around her. 2 doors closed, 2 steady rhythms upstairs. Her anchor. She glanced at the clock in the hallway. 11:58 p.m. "Almost midnight," she murmured. "Too late." She turned toward her office, because there was still work to finish, and because as long as the girls were asleep, safe, she could keep going. She always did. The office light was still on. A single lamp, warm, low. The rest of the house stayed dark, settled into sleep. Zola sat at her desk again, tablet in front of her, stylus resting between her fingers. She stared at the lines on the screen longer than necessary. They didn't blur. They didn't move. They were just there, waiting. She rolled her shoulders once more, slower this time. The motion didn't ease anything. Her jaw tightened slightly. She hadn't realized she was clenching it. Zola reached for her mug. Empty. She tipped it toward her mouth anyway before noticing. "Right," she murmured. She set it down. A dull pressure pulsed behind her eyes now. Not sharp, not alarming. Just insistent, like someone knocking politely but repeatedly. She closed her eyes, just for a breath. In. Out. The room tilted. Not violently, subtly. Zola's eyes opened immediately. She gripped the edge of the desk. "Okay," she said under her breath. She stood, too fast. The pressure surged, white at the edges of her vision. Her stomach flipped, then dropped. She reached for the chair, missed. Her fingers brushed fabric, air. Nothing solid enough to hold her. The word never finished. Her knees buckled, not dramatically, just gave up. The floor rose to meet her. The impact wasn't loud, a muted thud, the kind that wouldn't wake anyone upstairs. Her cheek pressed against the carpet. Cool, rough. For a second, she thought, I should get up. Her body didn't respond. She tried to inhale. The breath came late, shallow, wrong. Her thoughts scattered, not panicked, just distant. Hazel's crooked shoes by the door, Iris counting apple slices, the clock blinking close to midnight. She wanted to call out. Her mouth didn't move. The room narrowed. Sound softened, like it was being wrapped in cotton. Her last clear thought wasn't fear. It was irritation. This is inconvenient. Then even that slipped away. Upstairs, the house stayed quiet. 2 girls slept on, unaware. Downstairs, their mother lay still, breathing, but not the way she should. And the night moved forward, without waiting for her permission. Hazel wakes first, not because of a sound, but because something feels off. She lies there for a second, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what pulled her out of sleep. The house is too quiet. Not the normal quiet. Not the safe kind. Her throat feels tight. Mom, she calls softly. No answer. Hazel sits up, swings her legs over the side of the bed. The floor is cold, and that annoys her a little more than it should. She steps into the hallway. The light from downstairs is still on. That's weird, she mutters. Mom always turns it off. Always. Hazel pads toward the stairs, then stops when she hears another door open behind her. Iris, barefoot, hair, messy, eyes already sharp. You feel it too? Iris asks. Hazel nods. Yeah. They stand there a second, listening. No movement. No footsteps. No familiar sounds. Hazel starts down the stairs first. Faster. Less careful. Iris follows. Slower, hand brushing the wall. Halfway down, Hazel freezes. Mom? Her voice echoes oddly. Still no answer. The living room comes into view. Then the office doorway. Then Hazel's breath catches. Oh, her mom is on the floor. Not sitting. Not crouched. Down. Hazel rushes the rest of the way, heart slamming against her ribs. Mom, hey, wake up. She drops to her knees, hands hovering uselessly over Zola's shoulders. Iris stops just inside the room. Doesn't rush. Doesn't scream. She stares. She's not moving, Iris says slowly. Hazel shakes her mother's arm. Not hard. Just enough. Mom. Come on. This isn't funny. Nothing. Hazel laughs once. A short, sharp sound that doesn't belong to laughter. Okay. Stop. Iris steps closer now. Carefully. She didn't answer, Hazel says, panic creeping in. She always answers. Iris kneels opposite her, eyes scanning their mother's body like she's looking for instructions written somewhere. She fell, Iris says. I think. Hazel's chest tightens. Well, why didn't she get up then? Iris doesn't respond, because she doesn't know, and saying that out loud feels dangerous. Hazel leans closer to Zola's face. Mom? She whispers. Can you hear me? Her voice wobbles. Iris reaches out, then pulls her hand back. I don't know where to touch, she says. Hazel nods quickly. Yeah, me neither. They talk over each other now. Should we shake her? No. What if that? She's on the floor, Iris. That's already. Hazel, stop. Just. Hazel presses her ear near Zola's mouth. She waits. 1 second. 2. Then. Oh. Okay, Hazel says fast. She's breathing. Iris exhales sharply. Good. Okay. That's good. But Hazel frowns. It sounds weird. Iris leans in too now, face close, eyes squeezed shut as she listens. Yeah, she says quietly. It's not normal. Hazel sits back on her heels. Well, maybe she fainted? Why would she faint? Iris asks. Hazel opens her mouth, closes it. I don't know. Another pause. The house hums around them. Refrigerator, heater, normal things doing normal things, while nothing feels normal anymore. Iris presses 2 fingers gently to their mother's wrist. I think there's a pulse, she says, unsure. I mean, there should be, right? Hazel nods too fast. Yeah. Of course there is. She wipes her face with her sleeve. She doesn't remember crying. Mom, she says again, louder now. Please, wake up. Nothing. Iris swallows. We need help. Hazel's eyes dart around the room. Like, neighbors. It's midnight, Iris replies. Everyone's asleep. Hazel's breathing speeds up. Well, then what? Iris looks at their mother, then at the desk, then at the phone lying near the chair. Her voice drops. Her phone. Hazel follows her gaze. For a second, neither of them moves, because touching it feels like crossing a line. But Hazel reaches for it anyway. Her hands shake as she lifts it. The screen lights up. Contacts. Hazel scrolls. Stops. Her forehead creases. That name again. Iris's stomach sinks. She already knows which one. That's him, she says quietly. Hazel looks up. The one she never talks about. Iris nods. They both look back at their mother. Still breathing. Still not waking. Hazel's thumb hovers over the screen. Well, she whispers. She said, only call him if it's really bad. Iris doesn't hesitate this time. It's really bad. Hazel inhales, then exhales. Okay. Hazel lowers the phone back onto the desk, untouched for now. I don't want to mess anything up, she says quietly. Her voice isn't shaking anymore. That almost scares her more. Iris nods. Okay. So, we think. She scoots closer to their mother again, slowly, like the floor might suddenly give way if she moves too fast. Mom? Iris says, softer than before, almost polite. Can you squeeze my hand? She places her fingers lightly against Zola's palm, not gripping, just waiting. Nothing happens. Iris waits a second longer than Hazel would have. Then she pulls her hand back. Okay. Hazel watches her closely. What does that mean? Iris shrugs, but it's not careless. It means she didn't squeeze back. Hazel presses her lips together. Well, maybe she didn't hear you, or maybe she can't move, Iris says. The words hang there. Hazel shifts closer again, leaning down, watching her mother's chest. Up, down, but uneven. It's slow, Hazel says. Then fast, then slow again. Iris nods. That's not how it's supposed to be. Hazel swallows hard. She reaches out, then stops herself halfway. Can I touch her face? Iris hesitates, then nods. I think, yeah. Gently, Hazel's fingers brush Zola's cheek. Cool, not cold. Hazel flinches anyway. She's cold, Hazel says, panic rushing back in. She's really cold. Iris shakes her head quickly. No. No, the floor is cold. That's probably it. Hazel looks at her. Probably. Iris presses her lips together. She doesn't have a better answer. They sit there for a moment, knees on the carpet, breathing too loud in the quiet room. Hazel rocks slightly. We should roll her over. People do that, right? Iris's eyes widen. What if we hurt her? Hazel freezes. Right. Another pause. Longer this time. Their mother lies between them, unmoving, unaware of the discussion happening over her body. Iris presses her fingers to Zola's neck again, more confidently now. There's still a pulse, she says. Then, softer, I think. Hazel nods. Okay. So she's alive. Alive. The word steadies them both. Alive means we can help, Hazel says. Right? Iris nods slowly. Yes. They both look at the phone again. It doesn't feel optional anymore. Hazel picks up the phone this time. No hesitation. Her thumb moves straight to the contacts list. The name sits there like it's been waiting. Hazel stares at it. Why does she still have him saved? She asks quietly. Iris sits back on her heels, wraps her arms around herself. She said you don't delete people who might matter in emergencies. Hazel snorts weakly. That sounds like her. They fall silent again. The phone hums faintly in Hazel's hand. Well, Hazel starts, stops, tries again. If we call, everything changes. Iris nods. And if we don't, she doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. Hazel glances down at their mother. Her breathing hitches slightly as she watches. Mom wouldn't want us to be scared of asking for help, Hazel says, mostly convincing herself. Iris studies the name again. She just didn't want help from him. Hazel exhales through her nose. Yeah, she says. But she also didn't plan on this. Iris leans closer. Hazel, she says quietly. If this gets worse and we didn't call, I don't think I could live with that. Hazel's eyes sting. She nods once. Hard. Okay, she says. Okay. Her thumb hovers over the screen. Shaking. She takes a breath, then another. I'm doing it, she whispers. She presses call. The phone vibrates. Once, twice. Hazel holds it tighter. Iris inches closer, shoulder pressing against Hazel's arm. Ringing, ringing. Each sound stretches. Hazel's heart pounds so loud she's sure the man on the other end can hear it already. Then, the ringing stops. The screen changes, connected. Hazel's breath catches in her throat. She lifts the phone to her ear. Hello. The phone is warm in Hazel's hand. She doesn't remember it being warm before. Her thumb presses too hard against the edge. like she's afraid it might slip away if she loosens her grip. "Hello?" she says again. Her voice sounds smaller through the speaker. For a moment, there's nothing, just faint movement, a breath on the other end, controlled, measured. Then, "Yes," a man says. "I'm here." Hazel's stomach flips. Iris inches closer until their shoulders touch. She doesn't speak, just listens. The man doesn't rush them, doesn't fill the silence. He waits. Hazel swallows. "Our mom..." She starts, then stops. Her mouth feels dry. "She fell. She's on the floor, and she won't wake up." The words tumble out faster now, like if she doesn't get them all out, something bad might interrupt. She's breathing, but it's weird, and she didn't answer, and we didn't know who else to. "Slow down," the man says gently, not annoyed, not panicked, just steady. "Tell me your name." Hazel blinks. Hazel, and you're with her right now?" "Yes." A pause. "I need you to listen to me, Hazel," he says. "Is anyone else there with you?" "My sister," Hazel replies quickly. "Iris." Another pause. "Okay," he says. "Good. I'm going to stay on the line." Hazel lets out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Iris leans toward the phone. "She's still breathing," she adds quietly. "I hear you," the man says. "You're doing the right thing." Hazel's eyes sting. The words land heavier than they should. The man's voice never changes. That's what stands out. No sharp edges, no rushing, no raised volume. While Hazel's heart feels like it's trying to escape her chest, his words move at a careful pace, like he has time, like time listens to him. "Put the phone somewhere close to her," he says. "I want to hear her breathing." Hazel hesitates, looks at Iris. Iris nods. "Okay." Hazel kneels and places the phone gently on the carpet near their mother's shoulder. They both lean in. The room goes quiet. Too quiet. The phone picks it up anyway. A breath, then another, uneven. The man exhales slowly on the other end. "All right," he says. "I hear it." Hazel squeezes her hands together. "Is that bad?" "It means she's alive," he replies. "That matters." Iris presses her lips together. Her eyes don't leave their mother. "What do we do?" Hazel asks. "For now," he says, "you stay with her. Don't move her. Don't shake her." Hazel nods, even though he can't see it. "I've already called for help," he continues. "They're on the way." Hazel freezes. You did?" "Yes, but," Hazel frowns. "How did you?" "I know how," he says simply. That answer doesn't explain anything, but it doesn't need to. Iris tilts her head slightly, studying the phone like it might finally explain itself. "Who are you?" she asks quietly. The man doesn't answer right away, not because he didn't hear, because he's choosing his words. "You can call me Reuben," he says finally. Hazel feels the name land somewhere deep in her chest. Reuben, the name their mother never says, the name saved for warnings and unfinished sentences. Hazel's voice drops. "How do you know our mom?" Another pause, longer this time. "We knew each other," Reuben says. "A long time ago." Iris's fingers curl into the carpet. Hazel's heart pounds louder. She stares at their mother, then at the phone, then back again. The question rises before she can stop it. The phone stays on the floor between them. Hazel watches it like it might move on its own. "You knew her," Hazel repeats quietly. Not a question, more like testing how the words feel in her mouth. "Yes," Reuben says. Another pause follows. Hazel waits for more. Nothing comes. Iris shifts her weight. Knees pressed to the carpet now. She glances at their mother, then back to the phone. "How long ago?" Iris asks. Reuben exhales. Not sharply, just measured. "Before you were born," he says. Hazel's throat tightens. Well, a lot of people knew her before we were born, Hazel says quickly, like teachers and neighbors and family, Iris adds softly. Reuben doesn't interrupt. He lets the words sit there. Yes, he says after a moment. Like family. The room feels smaller. Hazel rubs her palms against her pajama pants. Mom doesn't talk about you. I know, Reuben replies. The certainty in his voice makes Hazel look up. How do you know that? She asks. Another pause. This one feels heavier. I respected her choice, Reuben says. Even when it was hard, Iris frowns. What choice? Reuben doesn't answer right away. Hazel leans forward, elbows on her knees. Are you a doctor? No. A neighbor? Hazel presses. No. Then why do you sound like you already knew what to do? Iris asks. Reuben's voice lowers slightly. Not quieter, just closer. Because I've had to make difficult calls before, he says. And because when someone you care about might be hurt, you don't panic. Hazel scoffs weakly. We're panicking. That's okay, he says. You're allowed to. Iris swallows. Do you care about her? She asks. The silence stretches, long enough that Hazel regrets the question. Then, yes, Reuben says. No hesitation this time. I do. Hazel closes her eyes for a second. Her chest feels too full. She opens them again and looks at her mother's face. Still, pale, breathing uneven. Mom wouldn't want us bothering someone who doesn't matter, Hazel murmurs. Reuben doesn't respond immediately. Because now the words matter. Iris speaks first. Her voice is barely above a whisper. Reuben? Yes. Iris presses her fingers into the carpet, grounding herself. Why does Mom still have your number saved? Hazel holds her breath. The answer feels like it could tip something over. Reuben inhales slowly. Because, he says, she wanted you to have a way to reach me if you ever needed to. Hazel's heart skips. Why would we need you? She asks. Another pause. This one is different, careful, deliberate. Because, Reuben says, choosing each word, sometimes adults carry things alone that they shouldn't. Hazel shakes her head. That doesn't explain. Hazel. Iris interrupts quietly. Hazel looks at her. Iris's eyes are wide, not scared, focused. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Hazel's mouth opens, closes. Her breath comes shallow now. I don't know, she says. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Iris turns toward the phone again. Her voice trembles, but she doesn't stop. Are you our dad? The question hangs there. No noise, no movement. Even the house seems to pause. Hazel's heart slams so hard it hurts. She watches the phone like it might crack under the weight of the moment. Reuben doesn't answer right away. Hazel squeezes her eyes shut. Maybe they crossed a line. Maybe they misunderstood. Maybe... Yes, Reuben says. One word. Rough. Honest. Hazel's breath leaves her in a rush. Iris lets out a quiet sound, half gasp, half sob. Oh, Hazel whispers. Reuben continues, his voice steady but changed. Less distant now. I didn't know about you at first, he says. When I did, your mother had already made her decision. Hazel shakes her head slowly. She never told us. I know, he replies. She was protecting you. Iris wipes her face with her sleeve. From what? Reuben's voice softens. From a life that might have been loud and complicated, he says. She wanted you to have peace. Hazel looks at their mother again. She did that a lot, Hazel murmurs. Reuben exhales. I'm on my way, he says. Help is coming too. You won't be alone. Hazel presses the phone closer to her ear. You're really coming? She asks. Yes, not dramatic, not promised with flair. Just certain, Hazel nods. Iris leans against her sister. The room doesn't feel safer yet, but it feels held. There is sound before thought, not loud, persistent, A steady mechanical rhythm that doesn't belong to sleep. Beep. Pause. Beep. Zola tries to move. Nothing happens. Her body feels distant, like it's been wrapped in something heavy and left there too long. Her eyelids flutter once. Stop. Try again. Light presses in immediately. Too bright. She winces, a small sound catching in her throat. The sound doesn't feel like it came from her. Her mouth is dry. Her tongue feels thick. When she swallows, it hurts in a dull, unfamiliar way. Beep. Pause. Beep. Her head throbs. Not sharply, just full, like it's carrying more weight than it should. She takes a breath. It doesn't go deep. Her chest rises halfway, then settles. Zola's fingers twitch. That's when she knows she's awake. She focuses on that small movement, holds onto it. The smell comes next. Clean, chemical, not home, hospital. The word forms slowly, like it has to travel a long distance to reach her. She tries to open her eyes again. This time, they stay open. White ceiling, blurred edges, something hanging above her. Lights, maybe. Her vision swims. She blinks. Once, twice. A shape sits beside the bed. Still, solid. Zola's heart stutters. She turns her head slightly. The effort feels enormous. Her throat tightens. No, she whispers. Because she already knows who it is. Ruben is sitting in the chair beside her bed. Not leaning back. Not scrolling a phone. Just there. Elbows resting on his knees. Hands clasped loosely, like he hasn't decided what to do with them yet. He looks up the second she moves. Not startled, relieved. "You're awake," he says quietly. Zola stares at him. Her mind scrambles, trying to place him in the room, in the moment, in the last thing she remembers. "You shouldn't be here," she says. Her voice sounds wrong. Thin, scraped. Ruben doesn't answer right away. He stands slowly, like he's afraid sudden movement might send her back under. "They called me," he says finally. Zola closes her eyes. A breath slips out of her nose. Slow, tired. Of course they did. Ruben steps closer, stopping just short of the bed. He doesn't touch her. "I stayed," he says. "They're okay. Hazel and Iris. They're safe." Her eyes open again at their names. "Where are they?" she asks immediately. "Sleeping," he replies. A nurse stayed with them until they fell asleep. Zola swallows. Relief loosens something in her chest. Good. Silence settles between them. Not comfortable, not hostile, just heavy. Zola looks at him properly now. Older, sharper around the edges. Lines where there weren't any before. But still him. Still too composed. Still infuriatingly calm. She lets out a quiet breath. "I didn't want you to find out like this." Ruben's jaw tightens slightly. "I didn't want to find out at all," he says. Then, softer, "But I'm glad I did." Zola turns her head away. The machines keep beeping. The room keeps existing like nothing monumental is happening. "How long?" she asks. "A few hours," Ruben answers. "You scared them." Zola's eyes sting. "I scared myself," she murmurs. Another pause. Ruben shifts his weight. "You had an aneurysm," he says carefully. "They caught it in time." Zola lets the word settle. Aneurysm. "Lucky me," she says faintly. Ruben doesn't smile. "No," he says. "Strong you." Zola exhales through her nose. "Don't. I'm not praising you," he replies. "I'm stating a fact." She shakes her head slightly, then stops when the movement sends a ripple of pain through her skull. "You always did that," she whispers. "Turn everything into something controlled." Ruben looks down for a moment. "And you always disappeared when things got complicated." Zola's chest tightens. The words land, not sharp, but accurate. She opens her mouth, stops, closes it again. Because now they're finally here. Zola stares at the ceiling again. Not because it's interesting, because looking at him feels harder. The beeping continues. Beep. Pause. Beep. Reuben sits back down slowly, not retreating, not advancing, waiting. They heard everything, didn't they? Zola asks after a while. Reuben nods once. Enough. Her lips press together. Well, she says, then stops. Tries again. That wasn't how I planned it. I figured, he replies quietly. Another stretch of silence. Zola's fingers curl against the sheet. The fabric bunches under her grip. You stayed, she says. Not a question. Yes. For how long? Reuben exhales. Until they fell asleep. Until the doctors were sure you would wake up. Zola closes her eyes. A long breath leaves her chest. Thank you. The words sound foreign, unused. Reuben doesn't answer right away. You don't owe me that, he says finally. Zola's voice wavers, just slightly. I know. She swallows. Did they ask you questions? Reuben's gaze shifts, not away, just downward. Yes. Her jaw tightens. And I answered what I could, he says. I didn't speak for you. That makes her breathe easier. Just a little. Good. Another pause. The kind where both people are aware they're circling the same thing. Zola finally turns her head toward him. Her eyes meet his. You're angry, she says. Reuben shakes his head slowly. No. She waits. I was, he corrects, for a long time. But not tonight. Then what are you feeling? She asks. He considers that. Concern, he says, and regret, and relief. Her chest tightens at the last word. Relief? She repeats. That you're alive, he says. That they're okay. Zola lets out a soft, shaky breath. I never wanted them to feel pulled apart. Reuben's voice lowers. They weren't. They were scared. Zola's eyes glisten. I hate that, she whispers. I know. The machine keeps time for them while neither speaks. Zola stares at her hands. They look smaller against the white sheets. I found out 3 weeks after the divorce, she says suddenly. Reuben looks up, alert now. I didn't even feel sick yet, she continues. No signs, no warnings, just a test I almost didn't take. She swallows. You were already everywhere, she says. News, interviews. People talking about what you were building next. Reuben's jaw tightens. And I heard things, she adds, about you moving on, about lawyers, about how your life worked. She laughs softly. No humor in it. I imagined rooms full of people deciding what kind of mother I was. Reuben starts to speak. She lifts a finger slightly, not aggressive, just asking. Let me finish. He nods. I didn't trust that I'd be heard, she says. I didn't trust the timing, and I didn't trust myself not to break under all of it. Her voice dips. So I left, quietly. Reuben's hands clasp together. You didn't tell me, he says, not accusing, just stating. I was scared, she replies simply. Not of you. Of everything around you. She looks at him again. I wanted them to have something normal, something calm, a life where their worth wasn't measured by headlines or expectations. Reuben exhales slowly. You thought I'd take over. I thought the world would, she says, and I wasn't willing to gamble them on my hope. Silence settles again. He leans forward slightly now. You didn't disappear because you didn't care, he says. She shakes her head. No, you disappeared because you did. Zola's breath hitches. Yes, Reuben nods once. I wish you'd trusted me, he says. So do I, she admits. They sit there with that truth between them, not resolved, but no longer hidden. Zola finally speaks again. They deserve honesty now. Reuben meets her gaze. Yes, he says. They do. The doctor doesn't sit down. That's the first thing Zola notices. He stands at the foot of the bed, tablet in hand, posture straight, voice already prepared. Like, this conversation has happened before, like it happens every day, which makes sense, just not to her. Hazel and Iris sit side by side in plastic chairs near the wall. Their feet don't touch the floor. Hazel's leg bounces once, then stops when Iris places a hand on her knee. Reuben stands behind them, not looming, not pacing, just there. The doctor clears his throat. "Miss Carter," he says, addressing Zola first. "You experienced a cerebral aneurysm." Zola nods slowly. She already knows the word. He continues anyway. "It ruptured partially," he adds. "That's what caused the collapse." Hazel stiffens. Iris's fingers curl into the fabric of her sleeve. Zola keeps her gaze steady. "Okay," she says. Her voice is quiet, but it doesn't shake. The doctor taps the screen. "We stabilized you quickly," he says. "That's the reason we're having this conversation instead of a different one." No one breathes. "However," he continues, "there is still significant risk." Reuben shifts his weight slightly. Not forward, not back, just adjusting. The doctor turns the tablet so they can see it. An image appears. Indistinct shapes, lines, something that looks like a floor where there shouldn't be one. "This area here," he explains, pointing, "is weakened. If we leave it untreated..." Hazel's breath catches. The likelihood of a full rupture increases. Zola's mouth goes dry. "Meaning?" she asks. The doctor doesn't soften it. "Meaning the next episode could be fatal." Hazel's hands clench in her lap. Iris doesn't move at all. The word fatal doesn't echo. It just lands, heavy, unavoidable. The doctor scrolls. "We recommend surgery," he says. "Soon." "How soon?" Zola asks. "Within the next 24 hours. Hazel looks up sharply. "Tomorrow," she whispers. "Yes," the doctor says gently. "Tomorrow." Iris swallows hard. "Will it fix it?" she asks. The doctor pauses, not because he's unsure, because he's choosing precision. "It significantly reduces the risk," he says. "But I need to be clear." Zola's fingers tighten against the sheet. "The procedure carries its own dangers," he continues. "Based on your age, overall health, and the location of the aneurysm." He glances at the screen again. "There is roughly a 70% chance of success." Hazel's face pales. 70? She repeats. "Yes." "What about the other 30? Iris asks quietly. The doctor doesn't look away. "Complications," he says, "including loss of motor function, cognitive impairment, or worse." The room goes still. Zola exhales slowly. "Those are just numbers," she says. "They are," the doctor agrees, "but they're important ones." Hazel's lip trembles. She presses it between her teeth, refusing to cry. Iris's gaze drops to the floor. Zola closes her eyes briefly. She opens them again. "What happens if I don't do it?" she asks. The doctor doesn't hesitate. "Then the risk of rupture increases to nearly certain within the year." Nearly certain. Reuben finally speaks. "And if she waits?" he asks. The doctor meets his eyes. "I wouldn't advise it," he says. "Not with children involved." That lands harder than the numbers. Zola feels it in her chest. The doctor straightens. "I'll give you time to talk," he says. "But not much." "I'll be back." He leaves. The door clicks softly behind him, and suddenly, the room feels too small. No one speaks at first. The machines keep their rhythm. Beep. Pause. Beep. Hazel stares at the doctor's empty spot by the door, like he might come back and take the words with him. 70%. Her mind keeps circling it. She presses her palms flat against her thighs, hard, like pressure might keep everything inside. Iris doesn't look up. She watches her shoes, counts the tiny scuffs on the toes. 1, 2, 3. If she keeps counting, maybe time won't move. Zola shifts slightly in the bed. The movement draws Hazel's eyes immediately. "Mom?" Hazel says. Zola turns her head. Slowly, carefully. "I'm here," she says. "I'm not going anywhere right this second." Hazel nods, but it doesn't help much. "Does 70 mean good?" Hazel asks. Zola opens her mouth, stops. Reuben answers instead. "It means the doctors believe it's worth trying," he says. His voice is steady, too steady. Iris finally looks up. "And the other part?" she asks. The part they didn't smile about. Reuben doesn't rush. He takes a breath. Well, he says quietly, it means there's risk. Hazel's fingers curl inward. What kind of risk? She presses. Reuben meets her eyes. The kind adults don't get to pretend away, he says. Hazel swallows. Iris's shoulders lift slightly, then fall. So, Iris says, thinking out loud, it's dangerous to do it, and dangerous not to. Yes, Reuben replies. Hazel lets out a shaky breath. That's stupid. Zola almost smiles. Almost. Hazel scoots her chair closer to the bed. Her voice drops. If you do it, she says, will you be different? Zola's chest tightens. Different how? She asks. Hazel shrugs. Like, not you. Silence fills the room again. Iris leans forward now. They said words, she murmurs. Big ones. Things that don't go back. Zola reaches out. Her hand trembles slightly as it finds Iris's. I hear you, Zola says. Reuben watches the exchange without interrupting. His jaw is tight. His shoulders held just a little too rigid. Contained. Focused. But inside, the weight presses just as hard. He doesn't pace. Doesn't check his phone. Doesn't leave. He just stands there, absorbing it all. Zola looks at Reuben. Really looks at him. You don't have to stay, she says quietly. The words are automatic. Habit. Reuben doesn't respond right away. He takes a step closer to the bed, not crowding, just enough to make his presence undeniable. I know, he says. Another pause. Hazel watches him closely. Iris holds her breath. But I'm going to, Reuben continues. No flourish. No declaration. Just fact. Zola studies his face. For how long? He doesn't hesitate. For as long as you'll let me, he says. For as long as they need. Hazel's eyes widen slightly. You don't even know us, she says. Reuben kneels in front of her chair so they're eye level. I know enough, he says gently. You showed me. Hazel blinks fast. Iris squeezes her sister's hand. Reuben turns back to Zola. I'm not here to fix anything with money, he says, or make decisions for you. Zola exhales. Then why are you here? He answers without drama. Because when something matters, he says, you don't leave it alone. Zola's eyes glisten. She looks away before the tears can fall. I'm scared, she admits. Quiet, honest. Reuben nods. So am I. That surprises her. You don't look like it, she says. He breathes out slowly. I've had practice holding it in. Hazel snorts softly through her fear. That sounds exhausting. Reuben almost smiles. It is. The room settles again. Different now. Not lighter, but steadier. Zola looks at her daughters. Then at Reuben. I'm doing the surgery, she says. Hazel's breath catches. Iris's grip tightens. Reuben nods once. I'll be here when you wake up, he says. Zola meets his eyes. Don't make promises you can't keep. I won't, he replies. This one I can. Recovery doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in pieces. A nurse adjusting a blanket. A cup of ice chips melting too fast. The quiet hum of a machine that Zola no longer jumps at. Some days blur together. Other days stretch. Zola learns her body again in small negotiations. Okay, she murmurs one morning, fingers tightening around the rail of the bed. Slow, sitting up makes her dizzy. Not spinning, just distant, like the room takes a second to agree with her. She waits. Breath in, out. There, she says softly. A nurse watches but doesn't rush her. Hazel and Iris visit in short stretches. At first, they hover, too careful. Like sudden movement might undo everything. Do you need water? Hazel asks. Are you tired? Iris adds. Do you want us to leave? Hazel again. Zola answers patiently. Yes, no, not yet. Her voice grows stronger by degrees. Not daily, not predictably. Some mornings, words come easily. Others, she has to rest between sentences. I'm fine, she insists once, then pauses. Just give me a second. They learn to wait. Reuben is there most days, not always in the room. Sometimes down the hall. Sometimes standing near the window, phone at his side, untouched. He doesn't fill the silence. He learns it. Zola notices that before she notices anything else. The first morning Zola is allowed to walk the length of the hallway. Reuben trails a step behind. Not hovering, just present. Hazel notices. You don't have to follow her everywhere, she says. Reuben stops. I know. He lets Zola take another few steps on her own. I just want to be close, he adds. Hazel studies him. Okay. At home, when Zola is discharged, the house feels different, familiar, but rearranged by absence. Reuben stands just inside the doorway, hands in his pockets. Well, he says, then stops. Hazel raises an eyebrow. You've never been here before. I have not, he agrees. Iris watches quietly. Reuben removes his shoes automatically, lines them up carefully by the door. Too carefully. Hazel notices. You don't have to do that. He glances down. Habit. The kitchen becomes neutral ground. Reuben tries to help. Tries is the important word. He burns toast. Adds too much salt. Forgets where the cups are, even after being told twice. Hazel laughs despite herself. You're bad at this, she says. I'm learning, he replies. Iris watches him wash a pan incorrectly. Doesn't correct him, just notes it. At dinner, conversation comes in starts and stops. So, Reuben begins, then trails off. School's been okay. Hazel nods. Mostly. Silence follows. Not uncomfortable. Just unfinished. Later, Zola hears them in the living room. Muted voices. A chair shifting. A question answered with fewer words than expected. She closes her eyes from the couch. He's not trying to replace anything. He's trying to fit. And that matters. Trust doesn't arrive with a conversation. It shows up quietly, in repetition, in mornings that look the same as the day before. Zola's recovery settles into a rhythm the house learns together. Medication at precise times. Short walks that stop before exhaustion. Meals that are simple and familiar. Hazel sets reminders on her phone without being asked. Iris keeps a small notebook on the counter. Appointments. Questions for the doctor. Notes written in careful handwriting. Reuben doesn't interfere. He asks once, then waits. Is it okay if I drive her? Would you like help with this? Should I give you space? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it's no. He accepts both without commentary. That matters too. In the evenings, he sits at the table while Hazel does homework, not correcting, just present. Hazel glances up occasionally. You don't have to watch, she says once. I know, he replies. I want to. She shrugs, keeps writing. Iris reads on the couch, legs tucked under her, eyes flicking up every now and then, measuring consistency. Days pass. Nothing dramatic happens. And, slowly, that becomes the point. One afternoon, Zola snaps, not loudly, just sharp enough to surprise herself. I said I've got it, she mutters when Reuben reaches for a plate. The room goes still. Hazel freezes mid-bite. Iris looks up. Reuben withdraws his hand immediately. Okay, he says. No defense, no explanation. He steps back. Zola exhales hard. Her head dips. I didn't mean... I know, he says quietly. They let it rest there. Later, he washes the plate anyway. When no one is looking, it happens late. Too late for it to feel intentional. Zola wakes on the couch, neck stiff, blanket half slid to the floor. The house is dark, quiet. She blinks, disoriented, then remembers. Recovery, home, night. She shifts carefully and stops. Reuben is asleep in the armchair across from her. Not sprawled, not dramatic, just there. One arm draped over the side, head tilted slightly forward. Hazel's blanket pulled up around his shoulders. Hazel herself is curled on the opposite end of the couch, fast asleep. One sock missing. Iris is on the floor nearby, back against the couch, book open on her chest, glasses slightly crooked. Zola doesn't move. She watches. The scene settles into her slowly. No one planned this. No one announced it. But here they are, together. Ruben shifts in his sleep, murmurs something unintelligible. His hand tightens briefly around the blanket, then relaxes. Zola feels something loosen in her chest. Not relief, not certainty, just space. She pulls the blanket back up over Hazel's shoulder, carefully, quietly. Then she sits there, breathing, letting the moment exist without naming it. Because some things grow best when left unspoken. The call comes in the afternoon. Ruben is standing by the kitchen window, phone in his hand, not answering it. The name on the screen stays there, persistent. Hazel notices first. "You gonna get that?" she asks. Ruben doesn't move. "Well," he says slowly, "I should..." He steps into the hallway before answering, not to hide, just to keep the rest of the house quiet. Zola hears his voice change immediately. Not louder, more contained. "Yes," he says. "No, I didn't forget. I understand." Zola doesn't strain to listen. She doesn't have to. She already knows what this is. The call doesn't last long. When Ruben comes back into the kitchen, Hazel has gone upstairs. Iris is at the table, pretending not to watch. Zola meets his eyes. "That was your family," she says. He exhales. "Yes." She nods slowly. "Let me guess," she says. "They just found out about us." Ruben leans against the counter. "They've known about you," he replies. "They've known about the girls." Zola's chest tightens. "Since when?" "Since the hospital," he says. "They have people who watch things." She looks away. "Of course they do." "And?" she asks. Ruben hesitates. "Just enough." "They're concerned," he says carefully. Zola almost laughs. "Concerned about what?" "About appearances," he admits. "About timing. About how this affects legacy," she finishes for him. He doesn't argue. The word hangs between them. Heavy, old. Zola presses her fingers into the arm of the chair. "So, what are they expecting?" she asks. Ruben's voice stays calm. "They want to meet," he says. "They want clarity, and they want me to make decisions." Zola closes her eyes. There it is, the thing she ran from. That night, Zola can't sleep. Not because she's in pain, because her mind won't stop tracing old paths. She lies awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the familiar sounds of the house. A pipe clicking, the faint buzz of a streetlight outside, Hazel turning over in her room. She sits up slowly, careful. The living room light is on. Ruben is there, reviewing something on his tablet. She doesn't speak at first, just watches him. The same man who once lived in boardrooms and private flights now sits on her couch, barefoot, glasses low on his nose. "You didn't tell me this was coming," she says finally. Ruben looks up immediately. "I didn't want to worry you," he says. She lets out a short breath. "Well, here we are." He sets the tablet aside. "Talk to me," he says. Zola folds her arms loosely. "This is how it starts," she says. "Meetings, conversations, people deciding what's best." "That's not what's happening," he replies. She shakes her head. "I've seen this movie before," she says quietly. "It doesn't end with us choosing." Ruben leans forward. "Zola..." "No," she interrupts gently. "Let me say this." He stops. Her voice stays steady, but there's something fragile under it. "I didn't disappear because I hated your world," she says. "I disappeared because I knew how loud it gets." She swallows. "And I won't let Hazel and Iris grow up feeling like they have to earn their place." Ruben listens, doesn't correct, doesn't reassure, just listens. "So what happens now?" she asks. He hesitates, not because he doesn't know, but because the answer will change things. The meeting doesn't happen in a boardroom. That surprises Zola. It happens in the living room. Late afternoon light filters in through the window. Soft, ordinary. Hazel is upstairs. Iris is in her room with the door half closed, pretending not to listen. Ruben's mother sits on the edge of the couch, straight-backed, hands folded, perfect posture that never quite relaxes. "I appreciate you allowing this," she says. Her tone is calm, practiced. Zola nods once. "I didn't want it to feel secretive." "That's wise," the woman replies. Ruben stands near the window, not beside his mother. "That doesn't go unnoticed. We were surprised," his mother continues, "to learn how much has been kept from us." Zola breathes in slowly. "It wasn't meant as an offense," she says. "It was a choice. Choices have consequences," the woman replies. Ruben shifts. "Mother," he says quietly. She lifts a hand. "Let me finish." Zola waits. The woman turns back to her. "Our family has always valued structure," she says. "Stability. Clear paths." Zola nods again. "So do I." "That's not the same thing," the woman replies. Zola's jaw tightens. "You're right," she says. "It isn't." Silence follows. The air feels tight, but no one raises their voice. "This situation," the woman says, "complicates things." Ruben exhales. "Complicates what?" Zola asks. The woman glances at Ruben, then back. "Future plans," she says. "Public image, expectations already in motion." Zola lets out a small breath through her nose. "You mean control?" The woman doesn't deny it. "I mean responsibility." Ruben finally steps forward. "That's enough," he says. Not loud, just firm. His mother turns to him. "You don't see the full picture," she says. "I do," he replies. "I just don't agree with it anymore." Zola watches him closely now. This isn't the man she remembers avoiding conflict. This is someone choosing it carefully. His mother's lips press into a thin line. "And what exactly are you choosing?" she asks. Ruben looks at Zola, then toward the hallway, then back again. His answer comes without hesitation. "I'm choosing my children," Ruben says. The words land quietly. No emphasis. No performance. Just truth. His mother blinks. "You're choosing chaos," she replies. Ruben shakes his head. "I'm choosing reality." "And her?" she asks, glancing toward Zola. Ruben doesn't look away from his mother. "I'm choosing the woman who raised them," he says, without asking for anything in return. Zola's breath catches. "You don't get to decide that alone," the woman says. Ruben's voice doesn't change. "I already did." The room goes still. Hazel's footsteps pause upstairs. Zola feels her chest tighten, not with fear, but with recognition. This is the moment. There will be consequences, his mother says quietly. Ruben nods. "I know. Loss," she continues. "Distance. Things you've worked for." "I know," he repeats. "And you're willing to accept that?" she asks. Ruben finally looks away, not to escape, but to check something. Hazel stands at the top of the stairs, Iris beside her, both watching. Ruben meets their eyes. Then he looks back at his mother. "Yes," he says, without negotiation. Zola swallows hard. His mother studies him for a long moment. Then she stands. "Very well," she says. "You've made yourself clear." She gathers her coat. At the door, she pauses. "They will need protection," she says. From what follows, Ruben nods. They already have it. The door closes. The house exhales. Hazel runs down the stairs. "Does that mean you're staying?" she asks, breathless. Ruben kneels. "If your mom allows it," he says. Zola steps forward. Her voice is steady, but her hands tremble slightly. "I'm not asking you to choose between worlds," she says. Ruben looks up at her. "I know," he replies. "I'm choosing one." Hazel lets out a shaky laugh. Iris leans against her sister. Zola closes her eyes for a second. When she opens them, something old loosens. Not fear, not relief, just certainty. The house feels different after the door closes. Not emptier, quieter, like something heavy finally set itself down. Hazel sits cross-legged on the living room floor, twisting the edge of a pillow. Iris leans against the couch, chin resting on her knees. No one rushes to speak. Zola stands near the window. She watches the light outside shift, late afternoon leaning toward evening, like time is moving again now that a decision has been made. Reuben clears his throat, not to interrupt, just to exist in the space. "Well," he says, then stops. No one looks at him yet. He lets the silence stay. Zola turns first. Her expression isn't guarded anymore, but it isn't open either. It's thoughtful, measured. "That wasn't easy," she says. Reuben nods. "No." Hazel glances between them. "Is it over?" Zola considers the question. "That part is," she replies. Iris exhales quietly. Reuben shifts his weight. "I want to be clear about something," he says gently. "I didn't do that to prove anything." Zola meets his eyes. "I know. I did it because I don't want to live divided," he continues. "And I don't want you or the girls to feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop." Hazel frowns. "What shoe?" Zola almost smiles. "It means he doesn't want surprises," she says. Hazel nods. "Same." Another pause settles in. No applause. No relief speeches. Just people adjusting to the shape of what they chose. Zola steps away from the window. "We're not fixed," she says quietly. "This doesn't make us a story with a bow on it." Reuben shakes his head. "I wouldn't want that." Hazel looks up. "Good. Those are boring." A small laugh slips out of Zola before she can stop it. Something eases. Not everything, but enough. Later that night, after Hazel and Iris change into pajamas, Reuben lingers in the hallway. Zola notices. "You okay?" she asks. "Yes," he says, then hesitates. "No, but I'm trying to do this right." She studies him. "Go on." He takes a breath. Not deep. Just honest. "I've made decisions my whole life without asking," he says. "That worked in some places. It doesn't here." Zola nods slowly. "So," he continues, "I want to ask. Not assume." He turns toward the girls' room. Hazel is sitting on her bed, hair half brushed. Iris is already under the covers, eyes alert. Reuben knocks lightly on the doorframe. "Can I come in?" Hazel shrugs. "You already did." He steps inside anyway, carefully. "I want to stay," he says simply. Not permanently without talking. Not as something you have to accept. Iris watches him closely. "Stay like, sleep here?" she asks. "Yes," he replies. "If that's okay." Hazel tilts her head. "Do we get a vote?" Reuben meets her gaze. "You get the first one." Hazel thinks, really thinks. "You don't try to be in charge," she says slowly. "I'm not," he replies. "And you listen," Iris adds. "Even when it's quiet." He nods. "I'm learning." Hazel looks at Iris. Iris nods once. Hazel turns back. "Okay," she says. "You can stay." Reuben exhales, soft, controlled, but it's there. He turns to Zola. "And you?" he asks. Zola's throat tightens. "We take this one day at a time," she says. "No ownership. No pressure." He nods. "That's what I want too." She holds his gaze. Then, yes, the word settles between them. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just real. Morning doesn't arrive with certainty. It arrives with sound. A kettle warming on the stove. A drawer opening, then closing too loudly. Footsteps, bare, moving carefully across the floor. Zola wakes slowly. Her body still asks for caution. Her head still hums faintly, like it's reminding her not to forget what happened. She sits up, breathes, waits. From down the hall, Hazel's voice drifts out. "Why does the toast smell like that?" Reuben answers, calm and unapologetic. "Because I left it too long." "That's not a reason," Hazel replies. "It's the only one I have." Zola smiles before she means to. In the kitchen, nothing looks staged. No one is dressed perfectly. Iris is wearing mismatched socks. Hazel is leaning against the counter, half awake, arms crossed. Reuben stands at the stove, hair still damp, sleeves rolled unevenly. "Well," he says, noticing Zola. Morning, morning, she replies. They don't kiss. They don't avoid each other either. They exist. Hazel watches the exchange carefully. So, she says, is this what it's going to be like now? Zola considers that. Some days, she answers. Other days will look different. Iris nods thoughtfully. That makes sense. Reuben sets a plate down. Burnt toast. He doesn't apologize. Hazel inspects it. I'll eat around it. That's fair, he says. The table fills slowly. Not everyone sits at once. Not everything lines up. But no one leaves. Later, when Zola rests on the couch, Iris curls up at one end with a book. Hazel stretches out on the floor with her phone. Reuben sits nearby, not at the center, just close enough. The room breathes. No one declares this a family, but it's there. Unfinished, unpolished, real. Zola watches it all quietly. This isn't what she imagined once. It's better, because it's honest. That night, after the house settles, Zola stands by the window again. Reuben joins her, not crowding. You okay? He asks. She nods. I think so. They stand there a moment. The streetlight flickers outside. A car passes. Life keeps moving. I used to think strength meant never needing help, she says quietly. Reuben listens. I thought if I carried everything myself, no one could take it from me, she continues. No one could decide for me. He exhales slowly. And now? He asks. Zola looks toward the hallway where Hazel and Iris sleep. Now I think strength is knowing when to let someone stand with you, she says. Reuben nods. I don't want to replace anything, he says. I just want to show up. She turns to him. That's enough, she says. They don't promise forever. They don't rewrite the past. They choose presence. And that choice, quiet, steady, unannounced, changes everything. Because love isn't proven by power. It's proven by presence. And family isn't defined by perfection. It's defined by who stays, when staying costs something. Sometimes the family you were afraid to claim is the one that saves you. To replace anything, he says. I just want to show up. She turns to him. That's enough, she says. They don't promise forever. They don't rewrite the past. They choose presence. And that choice, quiet, steady, unannounced, changes everything. Because love isn't proven by power, it's proven by presence. And family isn't defined by perfection. It's defined by who stays, when staying costs something. Sometimes the family you were afraid to claim is the one that saves you.
If you enjoy American Love Stories, please consider subscribing and comment what you need next. And love you all from Mr. Austin.